You're listening to Cinematic Adventures, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
Road, where we're going, we don't need roads.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Vices? We don't need no vices. I don't have to show you any stinking vices.
You make me want to be a better man.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
He's looking at you, kid.
Not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cinematic Adventures. Don't forget, if you guys are listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, basically anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also find more of our content on our website, themisfitfaction.com. There you find links to not only this show, but some of our other shows, like the Multiverse Fancast and MF Uncensored. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Paul. With me in the studio today is Sean. Sean, how are you today?
I am great, Paul. How are you?
You know what? I'm doing really well, Sean. I'm excited to talk about this franchise today.
I am too. Just before we do that, I just want to say I hope everybody out there had a happy and safe 4th of July.
America.
America.
Apparently, like $7 billion worth of fireworks were bought across the country.
It's usually.
That sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
That's awesome. Did you see any fireworks last night after? Because you and I were hanging out for a barbecue, and then
we did, but we heard them.
We heard them. Yeah, there was a lot of hearing them.
But no.
How do your pets handle that?
He didn't freak out. He would hear the boom and then be like, "What's that?"
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of try to go back to sleep, but I think it overstimulated him because he was weird the rest of the night.
Yeah, our cat just kind of watched. Like he would go sit at the window and just look out there. But for the most part, he was pretty unfazed.
I mean, that's the thing. It sucks because it's 4th of July. I get it. You're gonna shoot off fireworks, but a lot of animals do not react well to the noise. So
a lot of people either.
Well, a lot of people too, but animals can't express. Did
your toys react strangely at all?
No, my toys were quite calm.
Quite
they
calm.
didn't move at all.
We're going to talk a little bit about the existential crisis of having toys that are actually coming to life. But anyway, today we are talking about
Small Soldiers.
We got to do that movie at some point too. But we should do it right after this. That'd actually be really funny. But we are talking about one of our favorite franchises, a franchise that's been around for
almost 30 years.
30 years. So it's one of those franchises that really grew up with us, and we've seen it grow and evolve and change, and it's still as significant now for the most part, and it's a cultural landmark, and that, of course, is the Starship Troopers trilogy. No, I'm just kidding. That is Toy Story, the entire franchise.
Yeah, I mean, it's released in late 1995, but they started making this movie as early as like 1992.
Because at the time, computer graphics were unheard of.
I mean,
Tron was the peak.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and people like Hollywood studios weren't backing it as much, and nowadays...
Well, it was. They had a deal with Disney, and because we'll get into the history of Pixar, just a little nod to the history of Pixar, because it is very interesting to see where this company has come from, done, and where they are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what did inspire this conversation, Sean?
Inspire this conversation?
Yeah, this topic. What we were talking about off air before.
What were we talking? Oh, we were talking about the failures at the box office right now, and one of them happens to be a Pixar movie, and that's Elemental.
Yeah, unfortunately,
which we have not seen, so we're not going to sit here and tell you it's a bad movie, but it just is not
making the money,
not making the usual money a Disney Pixar movie would usually make.
So I have a few theories in this regard.
What's that?
I think first and foremost, the availability of most of these movies to come literally straight to streaming has made box office numbers go smaller.
Well, that's fair, and especially if it's movies that you don't need to see in a movie theater. I mean, there are still movies coming out, thankfully, that really have that pull to say, I have to see this in a theater, like, Top Gun Maverick, Avatar, one that's coming out at the end of this month, Oppenheimer, which I cannot wait to see.
I'll be seeing Barbie while you do that.
Barbie too. I mean, Barbie looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. We're actually thinking of going to the drive-in to see that.
That'd be fun. Well, apparently Mission Impossible, as of today, the review embargo got lifted. It's getting like 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, hey,
they say it's the best one of the franchise, which is saying something.
That's saying something, because I still think the first one's the best, but Ghost Protocol is also up
Number
there.
2 is the best.
I like number 2.
Throws the sunglasses dramatically.
I like that movie. I'm sorry.
I know you do. But it's a weird time in the box office where these movies that you think are going to be making tons and tons of money are just not.
Yeah.
And my personal belief, especially for family films, is because, especially during COVID, where remember when Disney Plus was like, for $30, you can get every.
Yeah.
You know, there were a lot of people, and we had friends with kids, especially, who were like, "I'd rather pay $30 and stay at home and watch this movie instead of going to the movie theater and paying $90 for all of us and food and this." And I get that. Like when my wife and I go to the movie theater, it's not cheap anymore.
No.
I mean, when we saw Flash, I think like we wanted to do the digital, because we wanted to do something nicer. Thank God, because that movie.
Tickets are like $18 a person.
Something
and then
like that.
Popcorn's like another 10. Drinks are another 6 each, 7 each. I mean, yeah, it's not cheap. I gave up the AMC stubs.
Oh wow!
Because I wasn't going enough.
Yeah.
To warrant paying. So now of course we start going to the movies a little more, and I'm like, should I sign back up? I don't know.
No, that's when they get you with their fine print.
Yeah.
But we look at a movie like Elemental, but we also looked at some of their more recent movies, and Pixar is not doing as well as it was at one point.
It's not a slam dunk anymore.
Right.
Lightyear was the movie before this one. And then before that was Turning Red, which was a streaming-only release.
I don't think it ever got to theaters.
Incredibles 2. If you ask the true Incredibles fans, I think most of them would say they were kind of let down by Incredibles 2. It did not live up to what we were hoping it would be.
And that's what happens when you wait, 14
Toy
years?
Story 4. I mean, you've been very vocal that the movie just did not have to happen. I agree with you. I still enjoyed the movie, but I agree it didn't have to happen. And there was one other one I'm blanking on.
Luca.
Finding Dory.
Oh, Finding Dory,
It's
yeah.
it's like they're starting to become what they didn't want to be, and that was a Disney copy where they're just making sequels of their big hits.
Next up is Return of Jafar.
Jafar needs glasses? God.
I follow a retro gaming channel on Facebook, and they were posting videos of the Lion King video game and the...
From like Sega?
Yeah,
Oh
and
God.
both versions of Aladdin, because there are two versions of Aladdin. There's the Super Nintendo one, and then there's the Sega
I
one.
have the Sega one.
The Sega one, you could use the sword.
Yes.
And in the Super Nintendo one, you threw apples and jumped on people.
See, now in the Sega one, you could jump out, you threw apples too.
Oh, then maybe you could do apples in both.
Okay.
But I know that the Super Nintendo one also had a parachute that you can find in the game.
That I don't remember that part, but
It's inspired by when he jumps off.
yes.
Yeah. But so anyway, those games are hard.
I love those games.
Those games are actually designed.
I've already told Gate that if we go to Terrific on the Shit, if they have a Sega Genesis, I might have to buy it.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm still annoyed at myself. I didn't buy it that last time.
Well, you could buy like one of the retro gaming consoles. Melanie has one.
Yeah, I know.
And it probably has it. But those games, fun fact, just because we're talking about Disney and it's our podcast, those games were designed to be so difficult so that kids would rent them again. That was their marketing strategy. Like the guy who created The Lion King actively said, like, we made them super hard
Yeah.
for children because we wanted them to have to go out and rent it again. And it's so you worked in rentals for a long time. Do the movie companies do they get any money from rentals and stuff
That's
like
a very good question. I never knew what the breakdown was as much as with that. I know like in movie theaters rely strongly on the concessions. Like they make 1/10 of the ticket price for these movies.
Oh, geez.
And I think once you hit a certain amount of weeks in the theater, then they start making more money off of them. But for the most part, they rely strictly on the concessions to make their money.
Right.
In terms of rentals, I couldn't tell you. I have no clue about that one.
Something to research, I guess.
Probably, but it also matters how many copies you made. With games, I mean, at least when I worked there, if a game had 3 copies, that was a lot.
Really?
Yeah, and then that was always the problem because you'd get, first of all, the associates would rent the games first. And we all know a certain one who would hold on to the game for like 3 months. And I would have to deal with the customers going, where's the game?
Who is that?
We'll talk later. He's like, but they'll ruin the game. I said, I don't care.
It's not his. Whatever. But anyway, so let's jump into this because this is a big topic. This is a lot. We kind of maybe bit off more than we can chew, but we'll see what happens. We can chew. All right, so the original Toy Story jumped out in 1995, November of 1995.
I remember seeing it.
And on a budget of $30 million, it walked away with $394.4 million. So it did okay. Mm-hmm. It did pretty well for itself. So we're not going to go plot point by plot point for these movies just because we'll be here for days.
I think people out there know the plots of Toy Story.
But we will talk to characters, and we'll kind of talk what their arc is throughout the entire franchise. Maybe you think that would be easier? Or you want to do it that way?
That sounds good.
All right. So number 1 is Tom Hanks as Woody, a pull-string cowboy doll who is Andy's favorite toy. So Woody's one of those characters. He's not very likable in the first movie.
No, because he's comfortable in his position. He's clearly the favorite toy. He knows it. Everyone else there knows it, and he's never been threatened by any of the other toys.
Did they say how old Andy is at any
in
point?
the first movie? I want to say he's got to be like 8 or 9. He's not like that old, because I think he's going off to college in 3.
Yeah.
So that's 10 years.
I'd say he's
Prior
like-
is 2, so I think he's 9 or 10 in the
That's-
second
that
one.
sounds
So he's
about-
like 8, 9.
I think that's a valid point.
But you don't know you won't know the history of the characters really more until you get deeper into the series.
And even that, you don't really learn anything about the humans in this.
Not really.
They're not the main focus. Yeah, they're not the main focus. I think the most time to shine that Andy has is in the third one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Man, imagine the first time you brought a girl over. Hey, what's Andy doing? Oh my god. Oh my god, there's all these like subreddits too about like, do adult toys come to life? Gross.
Of course this is where we're going.
Of course this is where we're going. But anyway, by the end of the first movie, Woody, he's come to accept that, Buzz is not there to take his place or anything like that, and be,
Well, it's the fun parts of the first one are Woody trying to
get rid of Buzz.
not even get rid of Buzz, but he's also like, dude, you are a toy. He's like, he can't fathom that Buzz just doesn't understand that he is not a real space ranger.
All right, so that is one of the most hotly debated points of contention. You ready for this one? If Buzz knows thinks he's not a toy, why does he still freeze like all the other toys? So that is a big, like, have you ever thought about that? What do you do with your life? This is what I do every day.
Yeah.
There's the prevailing theory is that he's just matching the locals of the planet. Like, oh, this is what they have to do to stay alive. I think it's because subconsciously he knows he's a toy and he can't help himself. So like, it's like a toy's innate, like just their default is like, we are toys. But because like you have all the other Buzz Lightyears that you see in the second one and they all freeze.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's always just one of those things that so stupid. Putting a lot of thought into this.
It's like they know they're on display. They know they're, there to be bought. It's
You're out
weird.
of your box.
Was I ever this conceited?
Am I really that fat? But yeah, it's a lot of very entertaining meta type stuff. We have Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear, who was my favorite character, who takes such a sideline, and they do such a disservice to in the fourth one.
Yeah. No,
They made him dumb.
In the fourth one, they really made it a Woody and then Bo Peep movie, if anything.
Which, okay, but we've had Woody's story. Like,
I agree with you. Like I said, I agree with you on all the aspects of 4 and why it was not really needed and why it wasn't that great. But I can't explain it. I can't explain it.
There's something special about Buzz Lightyear, and obviously that's why they wanted to do a spin-off. I think a spin-off showing Woody might have been a little bit better.
Well, that would have been interesting more just to kind of go back into the 50s and see the...
I would have watched the whole thing of...
Woody's Roundup.
Yeah, I would have watched that whole thing.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. But, I mean, just the cast. I mean, when you get Tom Hanks, who was at the peak of his career, really, when you think of it, in early 90s, to get him to be the voice, and then Tim Allen, who's obviously on, at that time, the #1 TV show in America. I mean, I couldn't picture anyone else doing these voices, could you?
No, and I think that's part of the reason that Chris Evans, as much as we love Chris Evans,
That's fair.
voicing Lightyear was just not well received.
I hear you, and my only reasoning is, think of this.
I'm thinking
Whenever
of it.
you get a toy of a character, it's very rare that toy sounds exactly like the character from the movie.
Oh no, I'm with you on that.
So like, I would feel like Tim Allen's voice is the voice of the character, not in the movie. Like, see what I mean? Like, it just...
I get that because, like, in all honesty, like, if you have like a toy based off like a character, there's 12 trillion different iterations of that character.
Now, Tim Allen didn't do the voice in the cartoon, the Space Ranger
So
Command,
Space Rangers or whatever it was, he did it in the like
the movie,
in
the
pilot,
yeah.
basically, like the extended pilot.
Then it was Patrick
Warburton,
right?
and it is jarring. It is a jarring change from. I think they actually re-released it for the series, like as the first couple of episodes where he did the voice, Patrick Warburton, and it again jarring, so jarring.
It's like not hearing Robin Williams' voice as the genie.
Yeah, but as a kid, that I didn't notice as much.
I was just like, why is Homer Simpson voicing the genie?
Well, you were an advanced kid, but anyway. Going down the list, we have Don Rickles as Mr. Potato Head.
Oh, so good.
I love Mr. Potato Head.
Mr. Potato Head. The fact that you take a Mr. Potato Head and you make him this cynical loudmouth, I thought was brilliant. And Don Rickles is like perfect for that.
Oh, I love Don Rickles. I'm a big fan. But we have Jim Varney as Slinky Dog. I've never seen a toy like that, in all honesty.
Slinky Dog?
Yeah, I've never really seen...
I feel like I have, but I never had one.
You probably straightened your Slinky. There you go. That was a Ghostbusters 2 reference for everybody.
You have a Slinky?
But I had a Slinky when I was a kid. I liked Slinkies. They were fun. It's amazing what used to entertain us as children.
Oh, my God.
Like,
Isn't this incredible?
It's going to be some kind of a record. But, obviously, Ronnie just had his first child, and I can't wait to be like, hey, look at this cool toy that entertained us for days. And her to be like, what is this? What are you doing?
No way.
Nope. Never again. Let's see. Wallace Shawn as Rex. I loved Rex. He was a lot of fun.
I just love the first introduction to Rex. He goes, and he just roars at him, and he goes, "Oh, hey, Rex, was it scary?"
Tell me honestly. I was close to being scared, he said. But yeah, Rex is just a lot of these characters. The problem is they don't really take center stage for the most part. I think in the second movie they do a little bit more. But yeah, the first movie is a Buzz and Woody movie.
It's a Buzz and Woody movie, and you actually, in my opinion, you don't really care for the other characters as much because they clearly become enamored with Buzz. They really turn on Woody so easily.
A little bit.
Yeah. Even Bo Peep.
I know who I'm moving with.
And I was just like, all right, we're over.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Do you think toys like do it?
I don't know.
She's porcelain.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
Something's gonna get hurt. Something's gonna get hurt in this situation.
And Woody's already very, very. He's got to be gentle. You're too rough with him. He's not gonna last. That's what the guy said when he cleaned him up.
Oh yeah, that's right. Pull my pull string. What is it in Ted? Put your finger in the loop of my tag. But anyway, oh god, that's horrifying. John Ratzenberger as Ham, who I always liked Ham as a kid.
Ham was good, and then obviously John Ratzenberger, who I believe has voiced a character in every single Pixar movie to date.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's like their Lucky Charm, they say.
Yeah, I wonder if he's been in all of them.
He has. I think he's in every one.
Really? It's funny because again, he's a piggy bank.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean piggy banks are toys?
You're thinking too far into this.
It's not my fault. In Toy Story 4, they address this with Sporky or whatever his name was. Again, I've not seen that movie in its entirety since I saw it in theaters. The first 3 movies I have seen trillions of times.
Yeah.
I have seen some. We went to see the third one in theaters together.
Yes, we did.
On vacation.
We did.
Yeah, that was a good time.
That's how long ago that movie came
I don't
out.
want to talk about it, but anyway,
Wow.
Annie Potts as Bo Peep. John Morris as Andy Davis, the toy's owner. Eric Von Detten, Brink himself, as Sid Phillips. Apparently, he reprises the role in Toy Story 3 just to be like beating
just to beating the drums.
Yeah, that's what he's known for. Laurie Metcalf as Andy's mom.
That's a forgotten one. That's Laurie Metcalf. I forgot about that.
I know, right? R. Lee Emery as the sergeant.
Great. You can't. That's perfect.
Sarah Freeman as Hannah Phillips, Sid's younger sister, and Penn Jillette as the Buzz Lightyear TV commercial announcer, because that's how that works.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, so basically the story is very simple. New toy comes in, usurps Woody's position, and Woody tries to get rid of him, and in doing so, they become lost. And
end up in the next door neighbor's possession, who is a toy torturer.
Yeah. Did you ever get the hooker joke?
I don't know.
It's a hook with 2 legs.
Oh.
Hooker.
Gotcha.
I got it. Yeah, that kid needs to go to therapy and needs all the supervision.
He ended up being a garbage man. They pay very well.
So suppose there's another theory. A lot of Toy Story theories. Toy Story theories are always fun. That he became a garbage man to try and save lost toys now. Because don't forget, he also knows that
he's scarred for life after the end of that movie.
Oh my God, yes.
That was pretty bold by Woody, but they had to do it. They had to do it.
So yeah, again, we have to break a few rules. Is there a toy convention like that they establish what the rules are for any of this stuff? But yeah, it's got a very nice happy ending, and
I love the beginning of this movie because it just really just shows off the ingenuity that these toys have, where they're sending the army guys down with the microphone to listen what the presents are, because they're all like,
"It's a what?
No.
What is it?
What is it?"
Did you ever play the video game?
Probably.
There was a Sega Toy Story game, and I think
I had a computer Toy Story game.
I vividly remember one of the levels was you had to get all the toys back into the toy chest because Andy was coming, so there was a timer. So basically the toys would go around, and you had to try and get them onto like this little, almost like a bike pump with a balloon, and you'd hit it, and they go flying up. And then there was levels with the RC car, like an overhead thing where you would drive around, and I remember, I don't think I ever finished the game. Again, it was freaking hard. And I was, how old were we when this movie came out?
7. 8.
Oh, we were Andy's age.
Yeah.
I need to lay down. I don't feel well.
This movie was directed straight at us.
Oh my god, and it has not left us alone.
No, it has not.
But the movie ends on a very nice, happy ending. You know, everybody's kind of reconciled. They're in the new house, and they get the dog. But I like how, like...
That was a fun ending.
And then it turns out to be nothing.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
The dog likes them more than Andy.
Likes the adults. But this movie really just... First of all, it's the first computer animated movie ever made.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, let's establish that. And it changed everything. You know, we are in a totally different place in terms of animation today, and that's because of this movie. I mean, there are no hand-drawn animated movies anymore.
No.
You know,
It's sad. I miss...
Which is a shame. I mean, you know, I don't know if they're ever going to go back to it. I just don't think it's a viable way of doing it anymore. I think studios are just so money-driven that it's just much easier to do it all on computers.
It's easier, it's cheaper, it's...
The last hand-drawn animated movie, as far as I know, was Princess and the Frog, and it just didn't do enough money-wise
to
warrant
validate it.
them to
Well,
do
even
more.
like, I'm a big fan of Dragon Ball. They just started shifting over to the CGI stuff just because they were like, it also takes forever to
Yeah.
do long live-action movies, and it cuts the time for you to get your content, which I get to a point, but still, like, it's sad.
But I mean, you know, this movie was I'm guessing it was a surprise hit. I don't know what the projections were when it was coming out, what people were expecting it to do, but nobody expected it to do what it did. It ended up doing.
It is probably one of the best movies of all time.
I would say it's up there. It's fun fact, Pixar, because when this movie was released, all Pixar had was a distribution deal with Disney, but Disney got the merchandising, which ended up killing Pixar to the point where Steve Jobs took Pixar public and got, you know, like, I don't know, like probably like $500 million in equity, and ended up coming up with a new deal with Disney where it was like a 50-50 thing on everything else.
Yeah.
But, you know, like that...
They learned from Star Wars.
Pretty much. I mean, it's crazy.
It's a movie about toys, and you didn't think that through. Anyway, I used to collect Buzz Lightyears.
Well, I don't know if they were in a position to...
No, they were a no-name company.
They were a no-name company. They were literally on the verge of probably, like, dying off because all they were doing were commercials and small shorts. They had a couple shorts that, you know, won awards. And
I like the shorts in the beginning of these movies.
In the beginning, yeah. But, like, because, like... But a lot of them were done prior to these movies. They just started releasing them with the movies.
I like the chess one.
The chess one. Because they didn't have one with Toy Story.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The chess one was with Bug's Life. And then I don't remember what the one was with. No, the one with the lamp was with Toy Story 2.
Oh, yeah.
The lamp. Luxo Jr. That was what it was called.
That poor eye. But anyway. So let's fast forward. 4 years later. 1999, a time of we thought the world was going to end with Y2K. We were now about 10, 11 years old.
Yeah,
in middle school.
This was literally 4 exact years later because it was Thanksgiving of '99 when Toy Story 2 came out.
And suddenly here we are with arguably my favorite of the franchise.
I agree, and let's give a quick shout out to A Bug's Life, which came out the year before.
Oh yeah,
I mean it was a 3-year gap between Toy Story and Bug's Life, and again, everyone was like, can this company hit it again? And
Bug's Life is so good.
Bug's Life is the forgotten masterpiece of Pixar, in my opinion. It's so good.
And then you talk about like how Ants came out at the same time.
Yeah.
Even though
that was all Jeffrey Katzenberg when DreamWorks was created.
Yeah. In all honesty, though, like I like Ants and I love A Bug's Life. They're very different movies.
Different movie. Ants is more adult.
Very adult. It's Woody Allen.
But I don't even think it's just because it's Woody Allen. I just think the way it was done was it's like, let's aim this more towards adult humor.
And who's we had Cutter was played by
Gene Hackman.
No,
Christopher Walken.
Yeah,
and Stallone was the friend.
Oh my god, yeah, I gotta watch that movie.
That had a great cast.
Oh, it had a killer cast.
Voice.
But anywho, so we get to 1999, and this movie starts off awesome. I love the opening of this movie.
Opening is, I think, just sets you up for this movie's going to be fantastic.
And the third movie does a great opening too, but this is probably my favorite. So the second movie opens up with like Buzz Lightyear flying through space, and he's like going through all these traps, and he fights Zurg.
Well, let's not forget this is 99, so this is right after Star Wars: Phantom Menace came out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's like already, it's like, well, let's traipse on Star Wars here. Let's do this little Star Wars opening.
And The Sixth Sense too. Wow.
Yeah,
this was right after.
99 was a great year.
What a year for movies.
World Is Not Enough was out at the time.
The Matrix came out in 1999.
I think it was 98.
Huh.
But I remember World's Not Enough and Sleepy Hollow were out at the same time.
I love World's Not Enough. That's a good one. But so this movie starts off swinging, and it's a very simple premise. Andy's going to help one of the toys that accidentally gets put in the yard sale because he doesn't have a good squeaker.
Woody.
Oh, excuse me. Andy's going to cowboy camp, and Woody gets damaged while they're playing because 5 minutes. I was us as kids, though. Like, we did that, too.
5 minutes? So it would take me 5 minutes just to set up that
I know,
thing.
just to get everything going. But so after Woody gets damaged, his mom puts him up on the shelf. The dreaded top shelf where he finds the penguin.
Yep,
Weezer, who we never see again. Ever.
Was he in the third one?
Nope.
No?
Nope. Well, the third one also, a lot of the toys have already been disposed of.
So then maybe in the fourth one, wasn't there like a flashback in the fourth one? I feel like maybe.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I'll figure it out.
I know you will, and in all honesty, I'm actually just going to use the internet machine.
There you go. But what I love about the opening in Toy Story 2 is because it's so well done, and it's like, where is this going? And it turns out to be the video game, the Buzz Lightyear.
Oh, it was so good.
Rex is playing.
I loved it,
and it's just like, but I can't shoot and jump. I have these little arms.
I have such tiny arms,
and that's Rex's storyline for the entire movie is trying to defeat Zurg in the video game. That's all he cares about.
Yep. Let's see. He's introduced when Woody finds him on a shelf after Andy accidentally rips his arm. Blah 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 blah. Wheezy did not appear directly in Toy Story 3 except in footage showing Andy as a young boy. Woody said that Wheezy was one of Andy's toys who went to new owners. Yeah.
Okay. So you do see him in a flashback, but that's not. He doesn't do anything.
So it doesn't count.
That's fine. Whatever.
But
you
anyway.
want the win? Go for it.
I'll take the win.
We
also had the introduction of Mrs. Potato Head, played by Estelle Harris, and they're funny. The two of them are really funny together.
I mean, I remember when just hearing because it's the same woman who plays as Miss Costanza on Seinfeld. I mean, that's that voice. She has that voice that's just so perfect.
Oh my God, yeah! I'm packing you your angry eyes. Just also, this movie had bloopers.
Yeah, Bug's Life was the first one that did the bloopers, and then this one did it as well. And I don't think anyone else did bloopers after that.
Yeah,
just these two movies.
Just these two, and I think it was to get you to go see it again.
Probably.
Because they re-released it with the bloopers, I think.
Oh, probably.
Or something like that. But yeah, so Andy loses Woody technically, I guess. But Woody goes to save Wheezy with his bum arm, which is hilarious. He's like running around with the arm just hanging there. And
do a lot with one bum arm.
Easy there, buddy.
Just saying. He got around.
But he accidentally gets picked up by Al from Al's Toy Barn, who then pays for him but steals him. He throws all the money down. He just literally drops money and
I didn't
leaves.
Even see him drop the money.
Oh yeah, he just drops money and leaves.
Mother was like, no, you can't have him. He was like, all right, I'm just gonna steal him.
Yeah. So Woody finds out that he's a very rare collectible, which of course, and it's a crisis about, do I want to be like cherished forever in this way, or go back to Andy for a very short time? And it's really good.
Yeah.
Like, just so much good in this movie when they go like invade the toy shop,
and we are introduced to 3 new characters, 2 of whom obviously stick with us throughout the next 2 movies, and that's Jesse and Bullseye.
Bullseye, yes.
And then we have the Prospector,
Stinky Pete
the Prospector. So you find out that Woody is obviously, as Paul just said, a rare collectible toy because he was on a 50s Howdy Doody-esque TV show for kids called Woody's Roundup, and it's marionette puppets, doing all this stuff, this great theme song, which is just perfect. And yeah, the show was canceled, back in the late 50s because kids were just not interested in it anymore.
They wanted to play with space toys.
And Woody's like, yeah, I know what that's like. And it's a really great idea, and he is torn. At first he's all about getting home. But then he's looking at these 3 other toys, and he's like, he hears their story, especially Jesse, and we get probably one of the more touching,
Yeah, it's one of those scenes, though, that I fast forward through.
It's a great song.
It's a great song. Did you ever hear the theory that
it's Andy's mom?
Yeah, I like that one.
I've heard the theory, yeah.
Because of the hat.
Probably, yeah. And the hat, and then obviously the fact that Andy then somehow gets Woody, because you would think she remembers the characters.
Yeah, the Woody. Yeah, the Woody's
like,
Roundup
let me get him Woody. Yeah. I didn't have Woody. I had Jesse, and
Whoa.
She probably couldn't find Jesse at the time.
My favorite innuendo shot is when Jesse goes on the racetrack and then Buzz's wings pop up.
Yeah,
still good. The best of the bloopers where it says for rent on each one. Darn it, Woody!
And then he does the helmet comes down and he's got
Like
the
mustache and glasses. Yep.
It's like,
But yeah, this movie's just so good. Oh god.
and after that song, that's when Woody's just like, you know what?
I'll stay.
I'll stay. Because he realizes, like, how long do I have with Andy?
One more ripping and he's done with me.
Pretty much, you know. And of course, right at that time is when all the other toys show up to save Woody.
And I love the use your headline.
I don't want to use my head.
We have to also mention that Buzz gets switched with another Buzz.
Buzz gets switched with another Buzz, which is a great scene. Because again,
Tell me I wasn't this deluded.
Yep.
It's so good. Because he wanted the utility belt.
And I think there's a great line with the Barbie when she's giving them the tour. I'm tour guide Barbie. And
so good.
And Ham's like, make way for the single guys.
Yep. Oh, God.
And they go down the Buzz Lightyear aisle, and it's still like just all Buzz Lightyears. And she says something to the fact of like, it's like they didn't have enough to meet demand, or they had too much.
No, now they have too much because short-sighted
much.
Developers didn't make enough to meet demand, which is hilarious. Very meta on that one. And it's like terrifying when you see Buzz just trying to escape and
it's like
one of us.
Yeah,
scary stuff.
Pretty much.
But they end up convincing Woody to go. You find out that Stinky Pete's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like in the first movie, Sid's the bad guy. In this movie, it's Stinky Pete. And then in the third one, it's lots of hugging bears.
Lots
of.
But I mean, I understood Stinky Pete.
Oh, absolutely.
You understood where he was coming from.
10 trillion %.
But yeah, he got what he deserved.
He ends up
put in the backpack of a little girl who just likes to draw on all her toys. She's an artist.
Oh God.
He's a big old ugly man doll.
Yeah, one of the lines that is, or one of the bloopers that is not aged well is when they turn the box and he's got the two Barbies in there, promising a part in his movie.
Oh, good. And that's Kelsey Grammer too. Which
is my gosh, yeah, one of those things in Hollywood we don't talk about.
So we had Kelsey Grammer as Stinky Pete. We had Joan Cusack as Jessie, and the great, why am I blanking on his name? Wayne Knight as Al from Al's Toy Barn. And then pretty much everyone else returns with the same voice. This will be the last time Jim Varney does Slinky Dog because he sadly passed away like right after this movie came out. And that's all. In terms of new cast members, that was about it. Oh, and Wheezy was actually Joe Ranth, who was the same voice as the caterpillar from Bug's Life.
Oh, look at that. All right, with that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk Toy Stories 3, 4, and beyond. But first, a quick break. Hey guys, it's Paul, and the Misfit Faction is looking for your help. We are trying to grow not only our network, but also grow our brands, and the best way to do that is if you guys are looking to start your very own podcast. Maybe you guys have been listening to us for a while. Maybe it's something you guys have always wanted to do, but you're not sure how to get started. If you go to podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys will get a month of free podcasting set as a gift from us. So make sure if you guys are looking to start your own show, you reach out to us and go to podbean.com/misfitfaction. Also, maybe you guys have your own online business or service that you're always looking to grow, and advertising is a very big part of that. If you guys go to sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys can get $100 worth of free advertising, again, as a thank you from us to you guys. That's sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction. All right, we are back, and now we're talking arguably one of probably the most critically adored of the entire franchise, and that's Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 is the movie that caused me to have my first existential crisis and to feel bad for toys and to worry about what happens after we die. But anyway, thoughts on Toy Story 3, Sean?
Wow, I don't know where to take it from that. Toy Story 3 was the perfect ending to a franchise that wasn't the ending to a franchise.
Yeah.
I remember just, we left the theater and we were just like, that was perfect. We had no issues with this movie. We had no issues with how it ended. You aren't human if you didn't walk out of the theater with a tear in your eye, without a tear in your eye. And then Toy Story 4 comes out and it just kind of
undid so much.
Undid the perfect ending of
Chef's kiss.
So this movie is fantastic. I still believe 2 is the best of the bunch, but I think this is a close second. And it's just perfect. It really is. It really does a great job of summing everything up for us.
Right. But so basically, Andy's going off to college, and he is tasked with getting rid of some of his old toys or putting them upstairs
what's even more heartbreaking is at the beginning of the movie, they're in the toy chest.
Yeah.
And they steal the phone. They steal his cell phone and they call him.
Yeah.
And when Woody gets on, when he gets on the phone and is like, hello, hello, and Woody's like got his, I mean, that's just...
It's sad.
That's sad. I mean, it really is sad.
Yeah. Oh, now
But-
I'm sad.
I'm telling you, this movie was a gut wrench. It was a great movie, but it was a gut wrench.
But so through a series of happenstance, so he was going to take Woody to college.
Yeah,
which
he clearly was, and he was never going to get rid of these toys. He was going to put them in the attic.
But due to miscommunication, as movies go, they think that they're getting thrown out.
And mothers just like to throw stuff out.
Mm-hmm. Like my Pokemon cards.
Ugh.
And my Spider-Man 3 tickets. Yeah. Anyway.
She did you a favor on that one.
No, I had to buy new ones, and then I still had to see the movie. But anyway, so they end up at a daycare called Sunnyside.
Sunnyside.
And at first it's all like sunshine and rainbows, and it's like, you gotta go to this room. It's like the awesome room. You're gonna get played with every day and all these things.
And all these toys, that's all they want. They just want to get played with.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they don't, they're just like, point us in the direction of kids that are going to play with us. That's all we want. And, you know, they're in the room with all the toys that have been there forever, and they're just like, these kids are wonderful, you get played with, and then they're like, oh, we're going to send you over to this room.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, great, awesome. And, like, recess is ending, and you see all the other toys are starting to, like, disappear. They're, like, cowering. And they're like, what's about to happen?
And they just get ruined.
And what would you say? It's, like, probably, like, is it toddler room that they're in?
Like the 2-year-olds.
2-year-old room.
Oh, my God.
And just what they're doing with these toys is just
horrifying. It's like a horror movie you're watching. It's just like, it's so scary.
But so real quick to what's happened with Pixar between Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3. You know, we had that one time after Cars came out where the deal that they had done after Toy Story had ended. And Disney was going through a lot of crap at that time. And it took Bob Iger, then president, now president, to decide, like, Pixar is, like, the main reason we're making money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so Disney bought Pixar for, like, $7 billion or something, like some crazy number like that. You know, and Steve Jobs became, like, you know, the board member with the most stock, and John Lasseter became, you know, chief creative officer and all that stuff. So, I mean, it was just... Pixar was, in a new level this time around with where they were in Disney.
And you can tell by the quality of this film, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they put a lot of effort into it, a lot of love into it. And I still firmly believe that this was supposed to be the end of the series.
I agree. I have never really dived deep into what caused them to think that they needed to do a fourth one.
Money.
Money's the obvious thing, but again, I thought I had more respect for Pixar in that level, that they didn't feel like they had to, you know, do something like that.
Yeah, but we did get Ken.
We did get Ken.
This was the original Barbie and Ken movie. I loved it. I loved
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. And then
that's a forgotten that was Michael Keaton. Like, I mean, I'm watching the movie and I'm like, this guy sounds familiar. Why is this?
I hope he says I'm Batman. It's so weird.
Oh, when he does the outfits.
Oh my God, it's the best.
So great.
And then she tortures him by ripping them.
The outfit. That's vintage.
God, not my disco uniform. But actually, my favorite is not only default mode Buzz, but also Spanish Buzz.
Spanish Buzz.
Spanish Buzz is probably one of the funniest things in existence. And again, it brings you back to more existential questions about, do all the toys have a default mode? I'm so scared. But it's a very coming-of-age story. It ends really nicely with Andy. Eventually, he gets all the toys, make their way back to him, and he decides he's going to give them to Bonnie. Because he does meet her at one point. No, he doesn't.
No,
that's the first time.
We meet Bonnie because she
goes to the daycare.
She goes to the daycare, and I think Andy's mom has a relationship with her mother. Like, they know each other.
And Woody leaves a note for Andy.
Well, because obviously, I'm sorry, Bonnie's mom works at the daycare, and
they know each other, yeah.
She gave her the toys. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Woody escapes from Sunnyside, because that's Woody, and is like, I'm going back to Andy, but he ends up with Bonnie. And he becomes comfortable with Bonnie. Like, he really sees that she treats her toys well. You know, you get to meet those toys. And there's a couple in there that obviously go on to the fourth one, I think.
Oh, a few of them.
The porcupine with the...
Yeah, and
that's Timothy Dalton, I think.
I think so, too. Let's see. Let's look at some of these new characters. Let's see. Jodie Benson is Barbie. Michael Keaton is Ken. Emily Hahn as Bonnie, Timothy Dalton as Mr.
Mr.
Pricklepants.
That was it. And Jeff Garland as Buttercup and Bonnie Hunt as Dolly.
Some very creative
And
names.
Whoopi Goldberg as Stretch. That was one of the evil toys.
Yeah, I think so. Probably just some.
And then obviously the great. Why am I blanking on his name? From Mary Tyler Moore.
You got this, buddy. As Lotso?
As Lotso.
Oh,
Ned Beatty.
That's
Lotso.
it. Yeah.
I thought it was Ed Asner, but it's not. It's Ned Beatty as Lotso.
I like the telephone by Teddy Newton. And then, of course, like at the end, though, like the movie ends. It ends on the happy note. The toys are now with Bonnie, and they redid Sunnyside under Ken and Barbie's rule, where everybody has turns, and they have like a toy spa.
Oh yeah. And
Yep.
then it's like
And
every toy has to be in the 2-year-old room for like, a little bit.
We gotta take turns. We gotta take turns. But then we get Toy Story 4. I really don't like this movie. It's a great movie, and there's a lot of good to it, but I have such a bad taste in like my mouth from it. It's silly. But anyway, what do you start talking?
I mean, again, I really haven't researched whose idea it was to do Toy Story 4, if it was a studio request or somebody actually in Pixar was like, hey, I got a really great idea to continue the Toy Story franchise, and somebody just didn't speak up and say, guys, we ended it well. We freaking, everybody was happy with it. There was no need to do it. Mm-hmm. So apparently talks for a fourth film began in 2010, and, so they were working on a sequel right after the third one came out. But I guess just they couldn't get a storyline in and all that stuff. But, I mean, they showed the trailers, and you immediately knew the plot line had something to do, because we forgot to mention in Toy Story 3, there's that, not really a throwaway line, but it's a significant line where you hear that Bo Peep is no longer there.
Yeah.
Like, Dave's like, oh, yeah, Bo Peep,
They mentioned a few of the toys. Yeah.
And that's that was a gut-wrenching moment, because it's like, it's like, oh, geez, this is crazy that all these characters we grew up with are, not really here anymore. Mm-hmm. And so now, Woody and all of them have been with Bonnie for a couple years, because I don't think they aged her all that much between 3 and 4.
No, it doesn't seem like it's been a long time.
Excuse me. And you could tell Woody's just not into it. He's just, something's missing in his life. Maybe it's Bo Peep. I don't know.
Which, after everything we went through in the third movie,
I agree. I listen, man. I
know.
agree with you.
I'm not yelling at you.
I totally understand where you're coming from. I agree with everything you say about the movie and about it just negated everything that made 3 so good.
Yeah, and I really did not like how they were like, all right, Buzz, you don't know what you're doing anymore.
Yeah, that was another weird.
Especially, you watched the second one before this one, especially. Like, Buzz is like he's making decisions, and he's like saving the day and all this stuff. It was some very strange character moments. It's almost like it was a different film that they then turned into a Toy Story film.
Yeah, it really kind of felt that way, and it's. Again, I can't explain it. It was great to see Bo Peep back, to get Annie Potts back as Bo Peep. They made her very resilient, because she's like basically on the run, kind of like she's not with anybody.
How does she take off her porcelain dress?
I don't know.
And now has a porcelain bodysuit?
I don't know, Paul.
Again, questions we're never going to have an answer to.
I don't know, Paul. I'm sorry. I really wish I could answer these questions for you, because I know it's in there. You're just like you're struggling.
It's never
going to
leave me alone.
You're struggling with it, but there were funny moments. I did like the Key and Peele characters, the 2 characters they played.
Oh yeah,
where they
they
attack
were very
the old woman who runs the antique store, who's like very evil or something like that.
Yeah. Of course, you have Christina Hendricks as the bad guy, Gabby.
Yes.
Keanu Reeves as Duke Kaboom.
Keanu Reeves as Duke Kaboom was fun, but I mean, in the long run, Woody ends up staying with Bo Peep, and it's
being with the carnival.
The carnival, and it's
saving.
So
lost
it
toys.
really like gut wrenches you now that these characters are no longer together. Like Woody and Buzz are no longer, together with Bonnie. So again, it just needles what you loved about 3, and it's like, why? Why did we need this? What was the reasoning? Yeah. Explain to me. What was the character development reasoning you had to make this movie?
And apparently they are doing a 5th one, and Alan and Hanks are supposedly coming back. Yeah, I'm with you.
Unless they're like, guys, 4 was just such a dud, we have to fix this.
Or the family goes to the carnival. and just happens to run into them because it's a very small town. I don't know if you know.
But that's not the town where Bonnie and them live.
I know, which makes it even worse. Sean,
I haven't
I'm
watched
with
this
you.
movie since I saw it in theaters. Like I'm
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the plot line here because they were on like a cross country trip because they were in like a Winnebago and like they just
And Forky keeps trying to escape.
That's it. That was a stupid character.
Yeah, I like the idea of the whole like, I'm a toy, but I'm not supposed to be. I'm supposed to be just garbage. Like I'm supposed to be a spork.
Yeah.
Like I'm trash, you're trash. Like
Who did Sporky? Who was the voice of Sporky?
like he was funny-ish for the most part, but it got old very quick. Forky was played by Tony Hale.
Oh, from the
Arrested
okay.
Development,
Arrested Development.
Veep. So, yeah, overall though, the movie just did not.
It didn't land. It didn't land for me. Let's see what the box office was.
It did well.
And no, I'm sure it did. Toy Story grossed $434 million. I mean, so it did over $1 billion. So right there, Disney's just like, oh, screw you guys. People want to see it. Sorry.
And people did, and they will. Like that's just the way that it goes. But how do you feel about doing some Star City ratings?
Oh, absolutely. Toy Story 1 first?
Yeah, I have all of them ready to go. If you want me to go first,
Yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna give Toy Story 1 a 4.
Okay.
It is a fantastic movie. It started the whole franchise. Toy Story 2, I'm gonna give the coveted 5.
I like it.
And
I like it.
it's my favorite Toy Story movie. Toy Story 3, I'm gonna give a 4.5.
Okay.
Just because it still makes me sad, and it's sad. And then the third one or the fourth one, I have a lot of controversial thoughts on, but I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay.
Because in terms of quality, it's there, and it's just like it's your characters, but it's just I really did not enjoy, and that's to go from a like 4, 5, 4.5, then suddenly down to a 3. You got something wrong with your franchise.
Yeah. So for me, Toy Story, I'm going to give 4.5. I think it is the definitive movie that changed filmmaking and all that stuff, animation wise.
absolutely, yeah.
And we're still seeing the effects of it to this day. Great story, great characters that we immediately fell in love with. Perfect casting in terms of voices. So 4.5 on the first one. I agree with you on number 2. I am going to give it the coveted 5. I think that movie is perfect. There's not a single thing wrong with Toy Story 2. And what's even more hysterical about that is they originally planned that to be a direct-to-video movie.
It's wild.
And they threw out the plot and they redid it. And that's in like
I love
an
it.
amazing quick amount of time. And that's what makes that even more incredible in my opinion.
Well, it's also a testament to how far the technology was at the time.
Well, at the time, yeah, and just how they just had to come up with a better idea and all that. Toy Story 3, I will also give a 4.5. It is just short of perfect, only just because it just gut wrenching. It's just so sad, and it didn't want it to end, but it was so well done. I did not expect that movie to be as good as it was going to be, because we
Yeah.
probably had the same feeling about that movie that we did about 4. It was like, why? Toy Story 2 was perfect. Why are you going to kill it? But we were proven wrong. Toy Story 4, I'm going to give a 3.5. Quality movie, well done, story wise, still worked. They had some moments to it. Overall, it's just, again, it wasn't needed. It didn't change any feelings to me of what ended with 3. It just, there was no, besides Woody was the only character development in the movie. I mean, that was it. It was just that Woody was not happy
Woody was
being with Bonnie, which again makes no sense because the whole point of 3 was you wanted to be loved by a child, and now you're being loved by a child, but now you're like semi bored with it. So again, quality movie, worth watching, but 3.5, definitely the worst of the 4.
All right. Well, that'll leave us with that. So we also have our Fan Feedback Friday, and this week was, what is the greatest Indiana Jones line or moment of all time? We have the iconic boulder running scene. We have the pertinent man kneels before God. In Latin alphabet, Jehovah begins with an I. And, of course, the end of Raiders. What about you, Sean?
The scene in Raiders where the guy with the big blade, and he just shoots him.
Oh, it's so good.
You think there's going to be a big fight, and it's like,
So
nah,
Indiana Jones.
good.
I also like the, Dad, what? Dad, what?
That's good.
That's always good.
I love the jumping out of the plane in Temple of Doom with the, it's like, we're not sinking, we're crashing.
Oh, it's so good on
Family
Family Guy. Yep. I love it. All right, well, that is going to wrap us up for today. As always, don't forget, if you guys want more of our content, you can go to our website, themisfitfaction.com. You can also find us on all social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Just type in Cinematic Adventures or The Misfit Faction. Odds are you'll find some of our stuff. But that is going to wrap us up for today. As always, I'm Paul.
I'm Sean.
And we'll see you guys next time.